Welcome to the Suzuki Grand National Cross Country Series, America's largest off-road racing series for motorcycles and four-wheeled ATVs. Hello everyone, I'm your host Jason Wygant. We are at the premier stop in the world's largest off-road series, the Wisp GNCC, brought to you by Parts Unlimited. There is no other off-road race in the world like this one. A ski resort here at Deep Creek has opened its doors to the best off-road racers in the world, and it promises terrain like you have never seen before. Huge rocks, huge hills, and you can check it all out from the comfort of a ski lift chair. We cannot wait to go racing.
Hello and welcome once again to round number 9 of America Series, the 2005 Suzuki Grand National Cross Country Championship, and of course, the Parts Unlimited Wisp GNCC as we look at sunny skies at 89 degrees with a very dry track that's going to weave in and out and across Marsh Mountain here at the Wisp Ski Resort, which overlooks this beautiful lake here. You see Deep Creek Lake in McHenry, Maryland. Taking a look at that Moose Point standings now after 8 rounds of racing. Bill Balance beginning to open up a little bit of a points lead over the challenger of Chris Borich as we look back. Yoakley in 3rd. Also another notable in the top 10 point standings is 7th place Adam McGill from the Pro-Am division right now. Just 7 points out of 6th place behind Brandon Balance. So a pretty nip and tuck points race as we near the end of this 2005 Suzuki GNCC Series. Once again, a beautiful look from high atop the mountain here at the Wisp Ski Resort, where we have a luxurious golf course and very nice accommodations, and again, a great place to come in the summer or the wintertime for the wintertime activities. And again, just a very beautiful place indeed. As you can see, a lot of different scenery from atop the mountain there. Of course, let's stop on down to the starting line right now as we get set to go with the ATVs and check in with Jason Wygant.
All right, we're here at the start of the Wisp GNCC, brought to you by Parts Unlimited, and I'll tell you this is the last time today the riders are going to like this racetrack. It is beautiful down here. Lush grass. This is actually a driving range, normally during the summer for golfers. But as soon as this race gets underway, the riders take off, and they're headed into the rocks, the hills, the mud of the Wisp. It's one of the nicest places to look at and one of the worst places to ride. We can't wait. Racing's about to get underway.
Thanks a lot, Jason Wygant, as we take a look at things going on down on the starting lines. We said 89 degrees and sunshiny as we get set to go. Chad Duvall there from Williamstown, West Virginia on the Ampro Yamaha, getting geared up and ready to go through this very rough and rugged race trail. Just how rough and rugged, let's stop in and check in with trail boss Jeff Russell.
Well, it's going to be pretty tough. It's rocky out there. It's really, I don't know what to say. It's a lot of rocks out there, a lot of obstacles, and it gets tough. I mean, they knock the dirt off the rocks, and it gets really tough. They'll really, I don't know.
They're not going to be complaining this race is too easy, are they?
No, this is not one of the easier ones on the circuit. So guys that use their head usually do real well here.
And, of course, we'll see just exactly who's going to use their head today as we take a look at that pro entry rider list there. And a total of, it looks like 19 riders on row number 1 as the kickstarts go down. And off and rolling into turn number 1, it looks like Bill Balance on that factory Yamaha is going to pull yet another FMF hole shot as he takes it in and out of turn number 1. Now into turn number 2, it looks like Chris Borich back in the number 2 spot. And quite possibly, I believe that was William Yoakley back in the number 3 spot aboard that Yoshimura Suzuki to open up the Wisp GNCC here in McHenry, Maryland. Let's take another look at that FMF hole shot and see just exactly how Bill Balance got her done one more time here at the Parts Unlimited Wisp GNCC. The kickstarts go down, and it looks like Balance once again gets a good drive. Not only a good kick off the start with the motor, but also a good drive and hooking up traction into turn number 1. He has got about a 3 bike length lead heading into this first turn. Amazing with Chris Borich there, not far behind in that number 2 spot. Sweeps out. You see the dust beginning to kick up, and well, we've got some dust out on the race course in the open areas, and in the inside areas, interior wooded areas, we've got a lot of rocks as row number 2, our Pro-Am, are off and rolling in and through turn number 1 now, heading into turn number 2. And I believe that that very well could have been Adam McGill grabbing the early lead aboard the number 66 here at the Parts Unlimited Wisp GNCC. Again, round number 9 of the 2005 Suzuki Grand National Cross Country Championship. And the dust is flying, no doubt about that, as we have a total of 31 riders now tackling that course from row number 2 in that Pro-Am division. As we get set to head down to row number 3, our 4-stroke A, 27 riders tackling turn number 1 and row number 3 now as we jockey for position. Who's going to grab the early lead here on the outside? Looks like that's going to be one of those Honda pilots, and very well could have been Chris Conklin, the number 88 out of New Martinsville, West Virginia, as we got some chaos in turn number 1. Now in turn number 2, as these riders are beginning to pile up just a little bit, and again, the dust beginning to fly. Visibility is going to be tough. In recent weeks, we've faced a lot of mud, especially throughout the entire GNCC series here in 2005, but this time around, we're going to be seeing lots of dust, at least out on the slope areas and, of course, in these low areas down near the resort itself. Up in the turn number 1 now goes row number 4, the Open A division. The Open A division housing a total of 25 riders in this class, and chaos in turn number 1. A couple of riders going over, but quickly to their feet as they'll turn it back over and try to get back into the racing action there. Tough break for those riders, as we've got a whole slew of riders out of these 25 that are vying for that number 1 spot in this Open A class. Keep an eye out for the 46 of Tom Hertz and also the 55 of Mike Benson out of Brewston Mills, West Virginia. Row number 5, the junior class, off and rolling in the turn number 1 now. Yamaha pulling the whole shot once more. It looks like in the turn number 1, can he hold on to it from this junior class on row number 5, a total of 22 entries. And the Yamaha pilot looks like he is going to hang on to the early lead, and that could have been the 424, Benjamin Reitzman out of Anderson, Indiana, aboard that Honda, 26-year-old pilot, in amongst 21 other riders for a total of 22. It's turn number 3, creating some chaos here off the start. But again, we expect these riders to start to stretch out a little bit. They'll tighten back up once they head into the wooded sections again, and things are really going to get chaotic out there as they try to manipulate and work their way through those rocks. And we'll see rocks today like we have not seen on any other course. About 11 miles of nothing but rough, rugged rocks. Row number 6, 2-stroke A and B, and our senior division's off and rolling. We have 8 riders in the 2-stroke A and B, and a total of 15 riders in that senior division, which are headed up by the 31 of Dave Simmons out of Paynesville, Ohio. Also the 72 of John Cunningham out of Newville, Pennsylvania. And also the 87 of Jim Van Locke out of Ashtabula, Ohio, aboard that Yamaha. And it looks like our senior class, our 2-stroke A and B riders, are having problems once again in turn number 3, as a couple of our other classes have had so far here on these starts. And this could prompt a possible 2-minute time difference between row number 6 and row number 7, but we head down to row number 7 now. It looks like the situation all cleared out in turn number 3, as row number 7, the vet class, off and rolling now. And of course, in the vet division, we've got a total of 22 riders tackling Marsh Mountain here at the Parts Unlimited Wisp GNCC. Looks like these riders are using as much of their head as possible, working their way through. But again, we see things start to bunch up a little bit as they make that hard right-hander and head down the hill just a little ways before they actually make their way into the wooded sections here at the Wisp. Row number 8 off and rolling now, the 4-stroke B class, 4-stroke B, 30 entries in this 4-stroke B division. Wesley Fruits, the 76, one to keep an eye on out of Crawfordsville, Indiana, but also that number 218 of Tyler Lennig out of Shamokin, Pennsylvania. He's been the one to beat for the most part in this 4-stroke B class throughout the entire 2005 Suzuki GNCC series. 30 riders trying to tackle turn number 3, and again we see some congestion beginning to build up, but quickly it dissipates as quick as it coagulates there. It sorts things out, and you see the dust really flying there. Again, very, very dry conditions here on Marsh Mountain. Row number 9 off and rolling. This is the Open B division, a total of 32 riders now tackling Marsh Mountain and the Parts Unlimited Wisp GNCC. The Open B division looks like turn number 1. Most, if not all, these riders going to get through without incident. Now turn number 2. As the dust kicks up and these riders try to get out of the dust pattern of the rider in front of them, the field really stretches out, and that's where we start to get this little bottleneck that we've got developing in turn number 3 as these riders once again try to make a hard right-hander, a 90-degree turn actually, as they head down the hill before making their way into a a grass field section, and then, of course, into the actual woods and those rocks here at the Wisp GNCC. Row number 10 getting ready to roll. Row number 10 of 10. 236 riders now onto the race course as a total of 5 riders in our sport division. Tom Barberwitz, Benji Edwards, Ted Barrick, also Christopher Bear and Brad Morrison gracing us with their presence there in the sport class. And again, 236 riders now tackling the Parts Unlimited Wisp GNCC. Lap number 1 near the 1 mile marker now, and Chris Borch is taking over the lead early on here away from Bill Balance, who's back in second. William Yoakley back in third. Jason Wygant spoke with Borch earlier.
Chris started the season out on fire, but it's slipping up, man. What's been the problem last couple of weeks?
Nothing really, just the mud races really messed me up. The last race I was just waiting till the last lap there to make a move. I tried it and then didn't work out for me in the end, so I just came up second then.
Obviously, you've got your strategy down most of the time. When you get there late in the race, you've been able to make your moves. Was there something you wish you could go back and do differently?
Yeah, I wish I would have probably made my move a lot sooner. I seen a couple other lines, but I was just hanging back a little bit. But I'm going to change it up for today. Hopefully just get a good start, get up there, and then try to run away.
Early in the year, you're winning a couple close battles like that. Do you still have the confidence that when it comes down to a last lap shootout like that, you can pull it out?
Yeah, I still have the confidence. That last race there, coming out, we just bumped, and I knew if I was gonna lift, he was gonna lift, and we both been wrecking. But if that's the case, I'm gonna have to do it this time if we're gonna be that close. So I guess we'll see what happens.
We're learning how tough it is to win a championship here. I know you got speed and you got conditioning, you got good equipment, but it's pretty tough to be able to put it together every week.
Yeah, it is. I know Bill got his stuff together. I mean, he doesn't break down at all, and it seems like when a mud race comes, he knows he can get out there and usually win or be in the top 5. Where it seems like I just pick the bad lines in the mud races. So it's a big key factor. Whole series going for a championship. It's pretty tough.
No mud really to worry about today. It's going to be rocky. It's going to be fast. How do you like this track?
Oh, I like rocks. Right around Roush Creek area, so it's a lot of rocks, and I'm looking forward to it today.
Finally, the Wisp. This is a completely different type of race than every other track we have. We're at a ski resort. It's a cool place to hang out. The place is actually paved. What do you think of coming here, just hanging out at the Wisp?
It's awesome. I think this is one of the best facilities here, just hanging out, and got a couple go-kart tracks close by. You can just go play around from Friday night. And it's a good time all around. It's awesome.
Awesome indeed. This is probably the premier stop on the Grand National Cross Country Championship circuit, and I know a lot of fans come out for this one because there's a lot of things to do around the area. As we check in with our leaders out near the 1.5 mile marker, and a lead change as William Yoakley has pulled into the number 1 spot. That looks like Brandon Balance, the number 9, back in the number 2 spot. Where is Borch and where is Balance? Back in third. That's number 16 of Santo DeRisi. Fourth place, the number 7 of Chris Jinks now. In the number 5 spot, that looks like that is going to be the number 4 of Matt Smiley. And back in 6th now, the number 1 of Bill Balance. And back in 7th place, that is the number 3 of Chris Borch. So Borch goes from 1st to 7th. Balance also falling off the pace as well. So big changes taking place here early on lap number 1 at this Wisp GNCC. Here comes Chad Duvall checking in now as he's trying to work his way up through the pack. Johnny Gallagher making his way through. Brian Cook and Brian Baker also making their way through. Andy Lagsons, who's featured on the event t-shirt, running back in the pack as well. And, of course, William Yoakley out in front like that. You know he's got to be pretty pumped. And we talked with him before the race today.
It's going to be a tough day, for no doubt. The temperatures always play as a big factor in this, and this track's really rocky and nasty. But it's going to be a lot of fun. It's going to be a whole lot like the last race, which I didn't fare out too well. Had a little bad luck and set me back pretty far. But, you know, that's racing. I feel pretty good about today. I've been riding and training really hard, and I know I can do good in these conditions just like any other. And the Suzuki's working great, and I'm looking forward to it.
Yeah, last race you seemed a little bitter. Are you feeling a little bit better today?
Yeah, I'm a little better. But, you know, everybody has their bad days, and everybody gets in a bad mood here and there, I guess. But everything's all right now.
And obviously, with good reason, he's out front today, and you know he's got to be a lot happier as he makes his way by. Big smile on his face. Balance, Brandon back in the number 2 spot. Back in third, still Santo DeRisi aboard the number 16 as we've had, again, big changes taking place early on here at the Wisp GNCC. Back in fourth place, Matt Smiley on that Factory Polaris ride, and Chris Jinks out of Washington, West Virginia on, of course, that Mickey Dunlap four-stroke tech machine. Bill Balance in sixth. Chris Borch still holding on to seventh now. Johnny Gallagher in the eighth place position aboard the number 18. Ninth place, the number 5 of Chad Duvall. And rounding out the top 10, Brian Cook aboard the number 6. There goes Houston also aboard the number 11. And also the 23 of Brian Baker checking in with us back there just outside the top 10, as these riders still pretty nip and tuck through this first lap of racing. And as you can see, lots of rocks, but as the race wears on, expect those rocks to become more and more visible, as these tires on these ATVs will definitely start to dig those rocks out quite a bit. As we head out near the 3-mile marker, not much of a change up front, still the same top 3 riders, but it looks like a change for fourth place as Matt Smiley has moved up one. Jinx drops off to fifth place. And, of course, speaking of Matt Smiley, we had an opportunity to talk with him earlier.
Well, I've had all great rides lately. It just seems I had little things happen to me. I crashed out last week. I was having a really good ride, and but my Polaris is working really well, and I'm real excited to be at this track here today. It's probably one of my favorites on the circuit, and looking to put it up front and hopefully get a win here today.
Are you looking forward to the break?
In a way, yes, and in a way, no. I don't like to be away from the competition for too long, but it'll be nice to be off in these hot months coming up.
Well, I can guarantee you Matt Smiley is not going to let up on his training program whatsoever and could be a major force to be reckoned with, if not today, in our first race back after that summer break, because he's got a lot on his plate, and of course he is digesting it very well and putting it all into perspective and making it all work out well for him on a brand new factory ride here in 2005. He took that ride and has just soared with it from the very get-go. As we check in with some of our Pro-Am riders back there, looks like some of those Pro-Am riders like Adam McGill and a few of the others are actually battling it out up front. I believe that number 25 of Brian Schmidt, also the 21 of Scott Fleshauer, also battling for the lead back there. As we check back up front with our leaders now, William Yoakley still holding on to the lead, but we've got a new second place ride, and it looks like Matt Smiley has worked his way up a couple more spots there. Chris Jinks up to third place now, as again big changes taking place, and I believe these rocks are definitely telling the tale early on here at the Wisp GNCC. It looks like the number 3 of Chris Borch has moved up a couple of spots. Also, Andy Lagson's working his way up through the pack. And, of course, we had a chance to talk with Andy, a Maryland native, before the race.
Yeah, I've been trying to stay real consistent. Got a lot of good finishes in. It's been keeping me right up in the top 10 in the hunt and the points. And going into this race, I'm in 7th place. So just going to try to keep up the consistency and been trying to get my speed up to run with the leaders. I'm used to this terrain, the real rocky stuff and hilly, and that's what this place is all about. So I know I feel right at home around here.
Without a doubt, Andy Lagston is probably on his best year of racing since beginning his pro career about 10 years ago, and he is on an all-time high right now. Again, like you said, 7th place in the points, and could even work his way up a few more positions before season's end. We'll just have to wait and see how it all pans out as we check out the leaders now near the 8.5-mile marker. It looks like Matt Smiley's taken over the lead now. We have had 4 different leaders on this first lap of racing so far, and William Yoakley drops back to second. Jinx up to third place now. And here comes Balance trying to work his way up through the pack and get around Santo DeRisis. He's worked his way around the number 3 of Chris Borch now. Brandon Balance has fallen off several spots, looks like to about a 6th place position now, as again more riders working their way up through these rough, rugged rocks. Check out those rocks. Again, it doesn't look like that much of a problem as you watch it from the TV screen, but once you see those ATVs trying to make their way over those rocks, you get to see just exactly how rough the conditions are beginning to get out there. And as we said, with these 236 riders, the more laps that is put on this racetrack here at the Wisp GNCC, more and more rocks are going to begin to get uncovered, and this track is going to get rougher and rougher as the day progresses. As we see Chad Duvall there struggling through a section of the racetrack. Again, does not look very challenging whatsoever, and every rider making their way through that section seems to be having some sort of a problem through there now, as a little bit of a stutter or a holdup they are made to take right there at that particular section of the course. And again, just very, very rough and rugged for these riders. And about 11 miles of terrain just like this, we can expect these riders to begin to really wear down quite a bit. As we check back in with our leaders once again, still Chris Jinks in the number 3 spot trying to chase down Yoakley, and of course the number 4 of Matt Smiley. Bill Balance trying to work his way up through the pack, and of course we had a chance to talk with Bill earlier.
We've got a little cushion there after the last couple of races. It's worked out good for us, but you know, I'd like to go into the break having won this race, and just know that there's a little cushion there coming into the last part of the season. But I know Chris is going to be tough out there, and he's going to be pushing as hard as he can. So he's wanting to get back and close the gap back up in the points, and I know that. So it's going to be a tough race out there today, and out there at this track with as rocky as it is and the temperatures we're looking at, it's going to be pretty grueling for all of us out there.
Do you think the heat's going to play into a lot of your performance, or are you confident?
I feel pretty good. The last race it was pretty hot, and we've been training in the heat riding on motocross tracks. So I'm kind of looking forward to it. I think that it might help me a little bit. If it, you know, the hotter it gets, I think just gonna have to get tough. But I think it'll help me in the end.
Bill Balance, a major advocate of the heat. He likes the heat. There's no doubt about that. He thinks that falls into his favor. We'll just have to wait and see. Humid conditions and 89 degrees under sunny skies could take their toll on the field of racers here at this Wisp GNCC. Right now, though, Balance just trying to work his way back up through the pack after an early mistake here on lap number 1. Also, the number 3 of Chris Borich in the same scenarios. Both those riders making a mistake about the same point on the race course, and lost several positions each as they now make their way around the course and trying to chase down the number 4 of Matt Smiley, who now leads on that Factory Polaris. The number 5 of Chad Duvall also seems to be having a rather strong race, kind of trying to work his way up through the top 10 right now, and he is definitely, like everyone out here on the trail, has their work cut out for them at the Parts Unlimited Wisp GNCC. A lot of folks saying very Blackwater-ish, and Blackwater is basically where this series began, and this one right here probably resembles more of the Blackwater than any other racetrack that we have. And on top of that, they say it's even rougher than the Blackwater because there's actually more miles of rocks continuously than what there was at that actual race. As we check in at the Yamaha over-under, as we go under on our Yamaha over-under section, we'll be heading over that section in just a little bit, but nonetheless, we are at the completion, or near the completion, of the first lap of racing. It looks like Borich has worked his way up into a possible top 5 position, which we'll be checking in with our leaderboard here in just a few moments to find out more about that. But this over-under thing working out pretty nicely as it gives us a kind of figure 8 out there on the race course, and gives the track crew an opportunity to actually run the racetrack backwards, or a little different than they have in years past. This is going to be a very tricky situation. It's one lane across the top of that. Again, we'll look at the over part of this over-under coming up here in just a few moments as our riders check in here for lap number 1 at the Parts Unlimited Wisp GNCC. Again, round number 9 of America's premier off-road racing series, the 2005 Suzuki Grand National Cross Country Championships. Let's take a look at that Suzuki leaderboard now after one lap complete. Matt Smiley, Bill Balance, William Yoakley, Chris Jinks, and Chris Borich, 1st through 5th. 6th through 10th, Brandon Balance 6th, Jeremy Wright 7th, Reese falls off to 8th, Brian Cook up to 9th, and Todd Nippenberg rounds out your top 10. Let's take a look at that Suzuki Pro Tip now with William Yoakley and the over-under.
Usually when I encounter a section like that in the half-pipe section here at the Wisp, I try to be smooth, you know, and not get excited in front of the people. You know, a lot of people tend to race real hard through that stuff, and at the same time, I try to be smooth over the jumps. And I normally like to keep it in, RPMs low, but keep nice momentum, but not being too high of a gear. So when you jump and you land a little out of kilter or whatever, you still got the RPMs that pull you out of anything you might have made a mistake on, you know. But like I said, normally just be cool, watch each jump. Some may be steeper than others, so you don't want to toss, roll it there or anywhere on the track, and especially right in front of the people. But that usually works out pretty good for me. Just be cool and calm and keep it in the right gear and keep your balance good and smooth, and just usually works out pretty good.
And we pick the action back up here on lap number 2 as we head through the pro pits. Our first time through the pro pits, Matt Smiley, your leader, and he's got company back there with, of course, Bill Balance, the defending GNCC champion and current points leader with 5 wins on the season so far. Smiley, though, in control of the situation, right where he wants to be, and could be a major force to be factored into this win today, as we had made mention of earlier. Especially, we thought, Matt's had a lot of time to work things out, and he could definitely become a major force at the latter part of this season, especially after the opportunity to ride through the summertime months and get hungrier and hungrier for a win. And right now, Matt Smiley is in position to take a win, but we've got a few more laps to go in this 2-hour extravaganza here on Marsh Mountain. And an unscheduled pit stop, it looks like, for the number 5 of Chad Duvall. He's getting a new set of goggles. Don't know what's going on down there right now, but he's got the new goggles. He's off and rolling. And speaking of Chad Duvall, we spoke with him earlier before the race.
Yeah, you know, I've had some good races here. First year was a little rough. Last year was a lot better track. And yeah, it's a really nice oriented facility here, and looking forward to today.
Seems like every day you're getting stronger and stronger and your results are getting better. How does that make you feel?
Oh, you know, I'm slowly plugging away here, you know, race by race. I'm kind of getting there, and you know, just a while back I really got my riding and testing in for the beginning of the year. So, you know, I'm just taking a step at a time and getting back here, and hopefully I'll get back up there.
Do you like having your kid here racing on Sunday and having a big family sport?
Yeah, you know, we really enjoy that, you know, and he's really coming up through the ranks, and you know, we got a lot of years we're going to be here, and I'm looking forward to it.
And of course, the kid that they're talking about is Thad Duvall, who is the current points leader in the 200B motorcycle division and also a youth champion from a few years back. And, of course, this kid is just phenomenal. We'll be looking for Thad Duvall in the years to come in that pro class. But right now we're back out here with the ATVs at the Yamaha Over-Under. And we told you we'd be taking a look at the over part of the Over-Under here in just a little bit. And here it is on lap number 2. We're about probably 1 mile into the race at this point. And as you can see, it's just a one-lane bridge that makes its way across the tunnel section of the race course that these riders made their way down through in the under part of this figure 8 that they've got designed here at the Wisp. But and it really allowed the track builders an opportunity to throw a little bit more variety in things and make things a little more interesting for the riders. So basically, you know, just take a little bit of time over that part of the racetrack, the Yamaha Over-Under, the over section. Take that little extra time, and you shouldn't have any problems, and you should be able to put yourself right into position where you want to be once you get off of that. And there you see lots of these riders making their way across. Finally, Chad Duvall, after that unscheduled pit stop, had to grab those Scott goggles, is off and rolling now, as some of our Pro-Am division riders, I believe, will be making their way across the Yamaha Over-Under here in a few moments. And speaking of this Over-Under bridge, we had a chance to talk with trail boss JR Jeff Russell about what it's all about.
Well, this is the 4th year at the Wisp, and we've been trying to run a different direction, I guess you want to say it, than we ran it in the past. But the only thing is, with running the pavement down there, we didn't want to finish the race on the pavement and come into the scoring tents. So the only way to do that, we kept trying to figure out a way. We always kept coming up with a figure 8, and so Bjorn said, well, let's just build a bridge, and that's how we got to this point. So I guess we're having the first over and under at the GNCC.
Very unique and history-making, I guess you could say, and definitely offering up these spectators an opportunity to see these riders a couple of times out on the race course. As we see the action now out here on the race course as Matt Smiley still holds on to the lead. Bill Balance back in the number 2 spot. Looked like Balance was actually trying to make a pass there. As we move up to 3rd place now, that is Borch working his way up through the pack. The number 2 of William Yoakley dropping off to a 4th place position now. As you can see, the track is beginning to roughen up quite a bit. A lot of that dirt is getting kicked off. Some of them masqueraded by the dirt, the loose dirt on top, but still very, very rough. Chris Jinks back then in number 5 spot. We had a chance to talk with Chris also before the race this morning.
Oh yeah, I'm definitely pumped about this race. It's going to be hot today. Trying to carry the momentum with me. You know, last race definitely helped my points for the year, and hopefully I can get a whole shot today and maintain Chris and Bill my sights, whoever might be up there. I just gotta keep contact with these guys. They're so fast, and trying to come from the back, it really puts you in a hole, and hopefully I don't have to deal with that today, and just try to survive. I've heard it's really rough out here, and just try to keep it up there.
What are you expecting from this track today, being at the Wisp?
Today, from what I've heard, it's I've been here 3 years before. I know there's a lot of rocks in the terrain, big rocks, make shoes to put us through them. I've heard they're doing some construction on top, some ditches that's pretty gnarly, and I know it's going to be really tough and pretty dangerous places. Just try to keep your eyes open and stay safe as I can, and try to come out of here best I can.
Do you have any plans for the off-season?
Yeah, we're definitely going to do some 6-hour races and definitely do the locals. Try to stay in shape the best I can, and got my practice bike. Just keep riding around on it, and that's all I can do.
Chris Jinks coming off of the best finish of the season so far with his second podium of the year to Mountaineer GNCC in his home state. So we pick the action back up here on lap number 2 near the 2-mile mark. Still Matt Smiley out front. Balance in second. Borge back in third. Yoakley in the number 4 spot. And rounding out the top 5 once more, the number 7 of Chris Jinks, as he has got those leaders in his sights right now, and he is not letting Chris Borge or Bill Balance out of them so far. Right now, here comes the number 16 of Santo DeRisi back in the number 6 spot. Look for some good things out of Santo today as he comes from Kezar, North Carolina, a very mountainous and rocky area also, and he could be a force to be reckoned with when it's all said and done out here on Marsh Mountain in the Wisp GNCC. Gregory True checking in with us also, and we had a chance to talk with him before the race.
It's been one heck of a year. We've had running good last race, and actually had we crashed last race when I was kind of back up front, had a bad start, and got back up there into about 4th place, 5th place, and crashed pretty hard on the second lap. So I just tried to ride the rest of the race out and finish, and we did. I think we came in about like 11th or 12th or something like that for the race, but it just hasn't came together this year. We've been it's not that I'm not trying, but we've had one thing after another happen to us. So but we're going to keep toughing it out, and maybe it'll turn around the last 5 or 6 races.
True, one of those riders with a lot of potential. Could be racing up there with Bill Balance and Chris Borge and Yoakley and those guys on a consistent basis, but like he said, just has not been able to put it together here in the 05 season as these riders continue to jockey through the wooded sections. Again, as you can see, nothing but rocks and no smooth racing surfaces whatsoever, except for when they're out on the ski slopes themselves or in one of the very few open field sections that the Parts Unlimited Wisp GNCC has to offer here. As you can see, more of our riders checking in there. There's the number 13 machine. That is none other than Todd Nippenberg. He's also a Maryland native out of Cumberland, Maryland, so I'm sure that the rock's not too much of a change for him. The 69 of Tom Baird also checking in with us out of New York. Picking the action back up here near the 7.5-mile marker on lap number 2 with a lead change. Bill Balance is now out front. Chris Jinks has moved all the way up from 5th to 2nd. Smiley drops off to 3rd. Chris Borge holds on to a 4th place position. And William Yoakley, where is William Yoakley? Was running in our top 5, still in 5th place now. And the number 2 Yoshimura Suzuki still in the hunt here on Marsh Mountain. And this Wisp GNCC, as we see 6th through 10th now, really starting to tighten up, and maybe even some lap traffic. I believe that right there might have been McGill checking in aboard the number 66. A little further up the track now with Balance still out front, but he's got company. Check out this section of the racetrack there as the number 7 of Chris Jinks tries to get around, and probably very well could have, as that section may be a little shorter to go through, but that rock obviously slowing our riders down quite a bit. But most of our pro riders actually electing to tackle that rock. You got to wonder if that's going to be the same case over the next few laps of racing once this race here at the Parts Unlimited Wisp GNCC continues here on Marsh Mountain. Looks like Brian Cook finding that rock as well. Here comes Santo DeRisi also struggling to get over that rock. Does not look bad here on the TV itself, but nonetheless, it is as bad as these riders are making it out to be. Remember, these are professional riders, ladies and gentlemen. Tough break there for the number 13 of that is Todd Nippenberg out of Cumberland, Maryland, as he gets the machine stuck over there, and he's going to lose a little bit of time. Let's take another look at that, the Yamaha replay. As you can see, he has to get off that machine and get it off of a rock. It does not look like there's a rut one there or anything that should hold that rider up, but look now, as you can see, the scrapes on that rock. It looked like just a normal pile of dirt there, but it was actually a rock being disguised by the dirt. He gets that rear wheel caught up on there, and of course the frame is holding the wheels off the ground, and that creates some major problem. Cannot get the momentum back to get through the speed that he needs to get through that section as fast as he would like. But nonetheless, Todd Nippenberg makes his way through that section slowly but surely, and I guess that's the best case scenario for a lot of these riders, just making it through, as a lot of riders may not even make their way around one lap of racing here at the Wisp GNCC, as the rocks will be taking its toll on a lot of these riders of the 236 that are registered for racing here this afternoon. Out near the 9.5-mile marker now, and Jinx does take over the lead as another lead change takes place, and Balance is in the number 2 spot, still Smiley in third, Borch still in the number 4 spot, and still Yoakley rounding out the top 5. Back there aboard the number 2 seems to be all by himself, losing time on the front 4, but also at the same time stretching things out over the back 6 through 10 now, as we see Santo Derisi checking in 7th place position aboard that number 16 of Kezar, North Carolina. Again, don't count him out before this day is all said and done, because he comes from a very mountainous region as well over in Kezar, North Carolina, not too far from where we held round number 4, the Steel Creek GNCC, only a few short months ago. So this is kind of like Santo Derisi's mock training grounds, if you will. If we head out to the Yamaha over-under, the under section for the second time here on lap number 2, and Balance has regained the lead away from the number 7 of Chris Jinks. So Jinks did hold on to the lead for just a little while here on lap number 2, but when it really counts here at the end of the lap, it is Bill Balance that is going to get credit for the lead on the second lap of racing. Chris Jinks will get second place honors. Back in the number 3 spot, I believe still going to be the number 4 of Matt Smiley, but we'll be checking in with that leaderboard here in just a few moments. Right now we're checking in with probably the only mud on the race course itself right now, and that's through this half-pipe region in the over-under segment of the race course, the Yamaha over-under. This is the under part once again, and a lot of spectators gathering around to watch the riders make their way down through this section. Checking in with our Suzuki leaderboard now at the completion of 2 laps. It's Balance, Jinks, Smiley, Borch, and Yoakley, 1st through 5th. Then 6th through 10th, Brian Cook, Santo Derisi in 7th, 8th place, Jeremy Rice, 9th place, Todd Dippenberg, and Pro-Am rider Adam McGill rounding out the top 10.
One of the neat things about GNCC is there's just as much fun off the racetrack as on it. We have some of the great characters of the industry here having a good time. Bevo 40, you've been with us for a long time with Scott Goggles and really supporting GNCC racing.
Yeah, we were at GNC from its first event, and we really like coming here because we use this for 2 reasons. One, for promotion, obviously, and for development. We find out a lot of things because these GNC riders, they put the goggles through the test.
Yeah, they do. There's a lot of conditions out there, and you have some of the best riders out there wearing and testing your stuff.
Yeah, today at the ATV event, we have Chris Borish, we have Bill Balance, we also have William Yoakley, and we have a few of the pretty women wearing our stuff, and one of them that comes to mind is Tracy Checo.
Well, nothing wrong with that. And you guys are supporting the sport, and you got some new products coming along the line that just keep stepping up a level and making it even better for these riders.
Yeah, like I said before, this is our testing grounds, and so far we've passed all the tests. This is our work system when it's complete with the film system on. As you can see, there's posts already into the canisters that you can put 3 tear-offs on for good vision in the first turn. And then you go to the film system, which gives you over 32 pulls. It comes with the mud flap. Also, the system has a see-through canister so you can see how much film you've used. And underneath the film is our patented anti-stick lens, which helps in the moist conditions from having the film stick. These are the reasons we come to GNCC, so we can test this stuff with our top name riders, and this is a finished product.
Very nice.
Thanks, Jason Wygant and Bevo 4T for that in-depth look at Scott Goggles. As we check in with the action on lap number 3, the Pro Pits, Bill Balance in for a pit stop. There goes Chris Jinks. Chris Jinks not stopping for a pit stop. And Chris Borch also, I don't believe, stopped for a pit stop this time around either. Let's stop down and talk with Joe.
We're always ready for him to pit. Just the point of, if he wants to pit, he don't want to pit. He wants to make time up out in the track. Feels like he can make some ground up on them guys by them stopping. We just sort of pit when he wants to. We go by him.
A little gas there for the number 2 of William Yoakley. Let's stop down and talk with his dad, Mike.
Yeah, William's feeling better and everything's working pretty good and seems to be having a pretty good day. He's run pretty good. He's in 5th now, but, you know, they're all out together, so maybe he'll have a...
He keeps bouncing back and forth. What do you think's going on out there?
A lot. There's a lot of stuff there. There's bad stuff.
Bad stuff indeed, and it's in the form of a lot of rocks, about 11 miles worth. As we check back down in our pit stops once more, Greg True, the number 10 from Middleburg, Florida, stop again for some fresh Klotz Racing gas and a fresh pair of Scott Goggles as he makes his way out of the pits now. And, of course, Chris Jinks getting around Brandon's brother Bill there only a few moments ago on those pit stops. You got to wonder what kind of an advantage that's going to be for Chris Jinks. Let's stop down and see what kind of strategy they got with Jimmy Duff.
Well, I don't think it'll be that much of an advantage because Bill got right back out behind him. Chris has still got to stop either the next lap. Well, I know he'll have to stop at the next lap, so that'll probably be a big advantage to us. Hopefully this Yamaha will be on the podium to win.
So Chris Jinks out front as we check in with him at the Yamaha over-under section of our race course now near the 1 mile marker. Jinks makes his way over the over part of our Yamaha over-under now. Looks like a rather healthy lead as second place now the number 4 of Matt Smiley, third place the number 1 of Bill Balance, fourth place the number 3 of Chris Borich, whom also did not stop in the pits there a few moments ago. And looks like lap traffic also making their way through here on the Yamaha over in the over-under section. There's the number 2 of none other than William Yoakley, who's still within striking distance of a podium position finish here today. But again, he's going to have his work cut out for him as more riders check in. There goes Brian Cook making his way by the number 13 again of Todd Nippenberg, a Maryland native out of Cumberland, Maryland. Doesn't seem to be on the gas too much to this section of the course, but again, he's a rider that has his good days and has his bad days, but most importantly, he's very consistent. Checking the action out near the 3 mile mark now here on lap number 3, and Matt Smiley is now taking over the lead as the number 1 of Bill Balance in the number 2 spot, still within striking distance, but again, another lead change up to third, the number 3 of Chris Borch, fourth place, the number 2 of William Yoakley. What happened to the number 7 of Chris Jinks? Looks like he's fallen off the pace just a little bit as Santo DeRisi now checks in 5th place as we've got some changes once again taking place here on Marsh Mountain and the Wisp GNCC. There's the number 7 of Chris Jinks actually making his way through now. Tough break for him as he was leading here at the beginning of lap number 3. More of our riders checking in, some of our Pro-Am riders, and even some lap traffic now becoming a factor out on the race course. Again, there's the number 13 of Todd Nippenberg out of Cumberland, Maryland, in his home state, trying to tackle McHenry, Maryland's Wisp ski resort. And, of course, the mountain they call Marsh Mountain that is located at the resort itself. But nonetheless, we'll see if Maryland's being from Maryland is going to be an advantage to him or not as more of our riders check in these rough, rocky conditions. You know, again, looking at this via just looking at it from this perspective does not look that bad. And this is probably the smoothest part of the race course that we have seen so far in the wooded sections of Marsh Mountain. So these guys probably getting a little rest right here through this small section, but look, just before they enter this, 50-foot section of smooth race trail, it's rough, it's rocky, and also creating some conflict for those riders as they try to make their way into probably one of the very few resting points that they have here at the Parts Unlimited Wisp GNCC. Out near the 8.5 mile marker now, and Bill Balance has regained the lead from Matt Smiley. It looks like Balance has gotten stuck on one of those rocks, and Smiley will get right back around. And the lead changes only for a few moments as Balance is out front, and Smiley gets back around when Balance gets stuck in the rocks. And here comes Borch now from the number 3 spot in fourth place. Up a spot or two now is the number 2 of William Yoakley as he's trying to make do of the situation in the rough, rugged rocks. There's the number 7 of Chris Jinks trying to work his way through this rough track. Now he also gets stuck on the rock only for a moment, but again, this is a lot of time that is passing and we're losing more and more time. And check this out, more time lost than even before. So these are the kind of mistakes that'll take you from first place back to a 5th place position where he is right now. And also, whoa, I was going to say maybe being challenged by riders like that right there, Santo DeRisi, but finding himself nearly going off the machine himself out on the racetrack, definitely slowing his momentum down quite a bit in a battle back there with Mike Houston. Let's stop down to check with Jason Wygant.
Matt Smiley in the Polaris has come from way back to take the lead. We know there's bottlenecks all over this mountain. Stuck quads, broken quads all over the place, and Matt Smiley has used his experience to pull in front of all of that carnage. Can he hold on? He's got to get through the rocks, the hills, and he's got to get through this mud box section, which is pretty darn tough too. White flag's about to come out. We'll see if he can hold on.
Less than 2 laps of racing to go. Matt Smiley on the factory Polaris leading out of Kunkletown, Pennsylvania. Again, Balance had gotten around only for a few moments in one of those rocky sections a few moments ago. And quickly, Smiley got back around. Smiley maybe set himself up for the first win of the 2005 season on his factory Polaris. He's had plenty of podiums to go for that Polaris, but nothing like a first place position, which he would love to get here today in the roughest race of the 2005 season thus far in the Suzuki GNCC Series. Again, this is the Parts Unlimited Wisp GNCC round number 9 as these riders are in the home stretch, if you will, of the championship points race. Mile marker number 10 now, as still Smiley out front, Balance in the number 2 spot, and the number 3 of Chris Borich back in 3rd. Yoakley in 4th place. He had lost quite a bit of time over the course of the last lap and a half, but it looks like he is beginning to reel in the front 4 once more, and could be a threat for the podium himself if he continues to ride at the pace he's riding at right now. But again, these riders are working their way down Marsh Mountain right now toward the finish line region, and of course the completion of lap number 4, and what that would mean is one more lap to go. White flag will come out as it looks like we're going to have ourselves a 5-lap race, which will put us somewhere in the neighborhood of a 2-hour total time on our race, since these riders took off only a short while ago here at the Wisp Mountain Ski Resort. And of course, Marsh Mountain is the name of this mountain, and again, thanks to Parts Unlimited. Down at the Yamaha over-under once more as our riders make their way down and through, still being led by Matt Smiley. Let's stop in and check in with Jason Wygant once more.
All right, the Wisp. Pits are always important, but it's especially important here because the paved section, it's like Supermoto on 4 wheels, and strategy is going to be a big factor as well. Only Yoakley and Balance have pitted so far. The rest of your contenders, Borich, Smiley, Jenks, they're all going to have to pit now as the white flag is going to come out. The pit crews are ready. If they make a mistake gassing these guys up now, the race is over. It's going to come down possibly to the smoothest section of a very rough racetrack.
Thanks a lot, Jason Wygant. We'll find out how it all breaks down over there in the pro pits in just a few moments. Right now, though, we wrap up lap number 3 and head into the white flag lap. Lap number 4 coming up. Right now, let's take a look at that Suzuki leaders board with Matt Smiley out front, Bill Balance 2nd, William Yoakley in 3rd, Chris Jenks in 4th, 5th spot Brian Cook. In 6th spot, Santo DeRisi, 7th place, Jeremy Rice, Todd Nippenberg in 8th, James Wall in 9th, and Andy Lagson's rounding out the top 10. What happened to Chris Borich?
I used to be a motocrosser. I rode 2-wheelers for years, and then I bought a quad to ride on the farm a little bit, and my brother-in-law talked me into going to hare scramble one time, and I had so much fun on that, I kind of transferred over and been there ever since. It's not just a young man sport. This is a little bit older guy sport. You got to be wood smart, and you can still hang out there. Older guys got a chance at this too. My health's been real good. I've been doing real good on my blood work here, and each race, I'm several races behind here, so each race I just got to keep nicking away here. But I feel like I'm in real good shape. I'm not 100% where I want to be right now, but I'm good. We just have a good time here, and I've been here for I think going on like 11 years, and I couldn't think any better place to be at on the weekend.
Chad Duvall out of Williamstown, West Virginia, rides a Yamaha YFZ 450 for the AmPro Yamaha team at 38 years old. He's been racing pro for 11 years, 5th overall with 5 podiums in 2004, 4th overall with 5 podiums in 2003, and 1 win in 2002. With, of course, that coming from the pro production class off of row number 2, when the production machines that you're seeing out on row number 1, when they were an option and actually had their own class. But Chad Duvall obviously proved that those machines could win, and that's where we see the pro riders now all racing production-based machines. Look like the number 1 of Bill Balance actually stopping in for a fresh pair of goggles, an unscheduled pit stop for him. There's Chris Jenks. He stops in for a quick drink of water, a quick splash of gas also, and he is off and rolling. Lost quite a bit of time. He was leading a lap ago, and of course finds himself way down back in the number 5 spot at the end of this 3rd lap of racing, one that he was so far ahead of only at the beginning of the lap. It's amazing how quickly things can change. And one other thing, you got to wonder, where is Chris Borich? We didn't see him check in our top 10, and we've yet to see him check in through our pro pit sections now. And whoa! Rider nearly going down there, and actually he regains composure. It could have been a lot worse than what it was, and that rider going to try to get back into the racing action. And speaking of back into the action, let's find out what's going on down in the balance pits with Jimmy Duff.
Jimmy Duff, different pit stop strategy. You guys gassed up a little early.
Yeah, we knew that it was a real long track, real tight, real technical. We figured we pitted on the 2nd lap, and everybody else didn't, which it ended up that way. Bill and William was the only one that pitted on the 2nd lap. Everybody else had to pit on the 3rd one, so hopefully we'll end up on the podium with that same Yamaha.
It looks good. You guys had to stop for goggles, though. What is that? Is it dusty? Is it muddy? Why does he have to change goggles on a day like today?
On a day like today, I'd say it was sweat.
Wow, pretty good analogy there as we head back over to the Yamaha over-under. Still no sign of Chris Borch, but we are getting reports right now that Borch, having some problems late in lap number 3, has gone down and suffered a shoulder injury. They're talking like a possible broken collarbone. We'll try to get a report on that coming up here in just a few moments, though right now we'll check in with these riders again on the over part of our Yamaha over-under section of this race course, and some riders choosing not to ride too fast over that section. You can't quite blame them, because if they were to make some sort of mistake and actually go off, it could smart just a little bit, as we do have a little bit of a drop and no water to fall into here at the Wisp GNCC. There goes Santo Derisi as he's trying to work his way up through the pack, and again, looks like has done quite well over the course of that last lap of racing. He had moved himself up into a 6th place position after racing, way back in an 8th place position at the end of lap number 1. So he has steadily worked his way up. At one point was actually a part of the top 5 and trying to get back up there once again. Another rider trying to get back up there once again is none other than Chris Jinks, who stopped in for a pit stop a moment ago, and we talked with his dad, Ray.
All right, good ride today for the Jenks team, but not quite up as close as you were early in the race.
Right, he's dropped off for some reason. When he made his pit stop, he didn't even say anything. He just sat there and took the fuel and took off.
Seem a little bummed?
No, not really. He's kind of quiet. He just, if it's bothering him, he don't let us know it.
Chris Jink checking in 4th place position at the end of that 3rd lap of racing. He's lost a little bit of time out there, but again, riding a very strong race and has plenty of time to catch back up with the top 3 riders and quite possibly mount a challenge for that podium position finish before this one is all said and done. And there, the reports have been confirmed. As we head down to the pro pits now, it looks like Chris Borch is out of the race, and how bad of an injury, I'm not sure. He definitely looks somewhat down in the dumps right now. More than just an injury, that looks like disappointment as much as anything on the face of Chris Borch. As we head down again down to the ambulance section, down in the pro pits. His dad, Joey Borch, back there not far behind him, trying to support him, of course, and give him all the encouragement I'm sure that he can. And he's also worried about the situation, but again, as much pain as Chris Borch appears to be in right now, I think disappointment is what that face is all about right now. Tough break for him as they put him in the neck brace, and again, reports are the possible broken collarbone. Some precautionary measures taking place there with our EMT squad. Thanks to those folks from the McHenry, Maryland area for taking such good of our Team Alba Racing Chris Borch, and at one point, a championship contender. And you got to wonder with that little incident whether or not it's going to create problems for him the rest of the series. And one thing you got to point out also in the, I guess the bright side of things for Chris Borch is the fact that we're getting ready to go into a 2-month-plus break here, and he's got plenty of time to recoup from an injury as long as it's not too serious. And a broken collarbone most of the time can be rectified pretty quickly. As we check back in with our leaders now, Bill Ballins trying to work his way back up to the front of the pack right now. He become the #1 man, and again, the man with the total control of the 2005 Suzuki GNCC Series. And with Chris Borch being knocked out of this race, this is definitely going to make some major breathing room now for Bill Ballins. So basically all Bill's got to do is finish this race at this point, be able to score several points more than Borch is going to be able to, and put that championship points hunt just out of reach quite possibly for Chris Borch. But you got to remember, 4 more races after that long summer break. Last year, Chris Borch came back on fire, winning the 3 of the last 4 races, and convincing the entire ATV racing world that Borch did mean business when he made the switch to the Honda, and the Honda seems to suit him quite well. We'll see if that same thing happens to him here. More riders stuck out here on the race course. This looks like some of our pro riders. I believe that may be Brian Cook, maybe Chris Jinks that's having problems over those rocks, and we've seen time and time again over the course of the first 3 laps of racing, and here on lap number 4 even, that this section of the race course is creating major conflict as those jagged rocks kind of poke up, and if you don't have the momentum to scoot your way over the rocks, your bottom of your ATV is going to get hung up on that skid plate, and you're going to be rocking back and forth, not able to actually grab any traction on the ground, and just creating time loss for yourself. So momentum is a key factor throughout this course. Out near the 9-mile marker on this final lap of racing, it looks like Bill Balance has now solidified that lead and actually starting to put quite a bit of distance between himself and second place, as our second place rider is the number 2, I believe, of William Yoakley. There's lap traffic, as you can see, beginning to move in between some of our riders, and there's Yoakley back in the number 2 spot with Smiley back in the number 3 spot. Looks like the battle is not over back there for second place. Lap traffic right behind them also, as Santo Teresi is in the number 4 spot aboard the number 16 machine, as he has definitely worked his way up through the pack throughout the course of this race. 5th place, the number 7 of Chris Jinks. He's got lap traffic now just ahead of him and between himself and Santo Teresi. Brian Cook back in 6th now aboard the number 6 with only a few miles to go here at the Parts Unlimited Wisp GNCC. Who's this checking in now? That looks like Johnny Gallagher aboard the number 18, trying to master the rocks as we head down near the finish line. Fist in the air, and the Ampro Yamaha of Bill Balance takes his 5th win on the season here at the Parts Unlimited Wisp GNCC, round number 9 of America Series, the 2005 Suzuki Grand National Cross Country Championship Series. Waiting on second place to check in. It looks like they're at least a minute behind, so let's head on down and check in with Bill Balance.
Bill Balance, it was rough, it was tough, it was hot, it was a long race. You outlasted everybody.
Man, it's the roughest track I think that we've ever seen. This was rougher than the first year we raced here. So, it's a good way to go out on the summer break, and having this win. I don't know where Chris is at, but having this win is going to help a whole lot towards the end of the season, and it's going to make me breathe a sigh of relief all break long.
It was a tough one for you. You were up and down, pitted early, had to make a comeback. Tell us how the race went.
It went real well. We got another hole shot, got out front, and got up through there, and Chris got around us there on the start, and we got going up through a hill, and we just about blew down a downhill, and we both got together, and tires locked together, and we was all separating those, and we dropped back in the pack, to 8th or 9th, and just slowly from there started working our way back up to the front, and coming into the last lap, I had lost my back brakes, and I didn't think there was any chance for me to win. I was just wanting to try and podium, and wound up getting around Matt and them. They got hung up a little bit, and I was able to check out just a little bit and get away from them.
No rear brakes, you made passes and got the win. You got to be pretty happy with that.
Yeah, I was pretty happy with that. That's not what I expected going into the last lap with the way things were going.
Good job, Bill.
Thank you.
Lots of folks getting stuck and changing the face of this race, no doubt about it, and Bill Balance not knowing the situation with Chris Bortz right now, and the possible broken collarbone, if nothing else, out of the race for the day, going to give him a big points lead heading into the summer break as Matt Smiley checks in second place, 1 minute and 11 seconds down now here at the end of lap number 4. William Yoakley not too far behind, about 11 seconds behind now, and of course Yoakley will take the number 3 overall spot here at the Parts Unlimited Wisp GNCC as we head down to the finish line. Congratulations all around to Smiley. Congratulations also to Santo Teresi as he walks away with a 4th place finish, his best finish on this 2005 season. And again, William Yoakley checking in the number 3 spot. There's the number 7 of Chris Jinks, a leader at one point, one of the many leaders here on Marsh Mountain in the Parts Unlimited Wisp GNCC as we've got our top 5 riders right now at the finish line. As we check in now with our Suzuki winners board here at the Wisp GNCC, it's Balance, followed by Smiley in 2nd, Yoakley in 3rd, Teresi in 4th, Chris Jinks rounding out the top 5. Then it's Brian Cook in 6th, 7th, Jeremy Rice, 8th, Adam McGill, 9th place, Andy Laxton, and rounding out the top 10, Todd Nippenberg. Here at round number 9 of a 13-round series. Our next round is going to be in Yadkinville, North Carolina, September 10th and 11th. And, of course, that is going to be a brand-new stop on the GNCC Tour. There is William Yoakley making his way onto the podium again, 3rd place finisher, and a huge crowd here at the podium ready to cheer on our winners of the Wisp GNCC. Bill Balance on the podium, and he is very happy indeed as he does the big burnout, celebrating his win with his little girl there on the podium at the Wisp. Let's head on down and talk with Matt Smiley.
Matt Smiley, welcome back to the podium, man.
Thanks. Feels good to finally put my Predator back up here. Had a string of bad luck, but I'm back now, and I'm going to finish out the year strong and, just finish as good as I can in these standings yet. There's a long way to go.
We know you're a tough guy. You like those tough, technical, old-school kind of tracks. Was this a Matt Smiley racetrack today?
Oh, yeah, I loved it. I mean, the rougher and rockier, the better it is, and my Predator just handled it perfect here today. And, I would like to get that #1 spot, but there's always next race.
Well, here we go. Last lap, you pull in for the pits. You get out of the pits, you're still in the lead. What was running through your mind at that point?
Well, like I said before, I don't always like to be leading on the last lap because that's where you run into trouble. You got to yell at the lappers, get them out of your way, and usually you run yourself into trouble, which is what happened to me here today again. And but I'm still real happy to come home as second today. It was a hard ride. Everybody was pushing real hard. Just everything was working great for me today. And what can I say? Second ain't bad when you're finishing second behind the 5-time champ. And I think we have 4 races here. I finished second every time, so I'm bound to win this one sooner or later.
How happy are the Polaris people going to be with this ride?
Oh, they're going to be thrilled. We're working together to make some new products, and they're into racing 110%, and I'm real excited to be working with them, and I'm sure they're the same with me. So hopefully we've got a bright future together.
All right, good job, Matt. We'll see you in the fall.
Yeah, I also like to say hi to my dad at home. He's recovering from bypass surgery. Get well soon, Dad, and hope to see you back out the races in September.
William Yoakley, awesome ride today. It was a really rough track, and it was back and forth. You managed to pull out a podium.
Yeah, Jason, I'm real happy to get on the podium today. Of course, I'd like to have had a little better finish, but you know what? I'm happy with the 3rd place because my Suzuki done awesome. Yoshimura Motor Pool great, and those rocks were nasty out there, and the competition was very stiff. I mean, it always is out here in the GNCCs. Everybody's out here wanting to win, and you got a tough crowd. But Race Productions put out another good track, and the Wisp was always nasty, and it was I didn't expect anything less out of this place. But like I said, I'm happy to be here. The bike worked awesome, and third place ain't that bad. So I'm happy. That's a pretty good way to start the break.
There's fans usually all over the woods because they got the ski lifts up here. Were there people cheering and pulling you out all over the place?
Yeah, there was people cheering all over the place, and that's awesome. We're going through a lot of punishment out there, and I was just about to pass out a few times. It's so hot, but all the fans are yelling and screaming, and it just brings you back alive, makes you just dig deep and go harder.
You gonna go blow off some steam now? We got a couple weeks off.
I'm not going to let off much. I'm going to do some things I ain't got time to do while I'm racing, but I'm going to stay at it all summer. I don't want to get out of tune because those last 4 races are going to be gnarly because everybody's going to be hungry for it.
Hungry for it is an understatement, I believe, William Yoakley. But, wow, what a day. We had several lead changes throughout the course of the race, and every one of these riders on the podium actually led at one point during the race today, and even more. And amazing feats and amazing efforts by the entire GNCC racing crew here at the Wisp Mountain Ski Resort, the premier stop on the GNCC racing circuit. And of course, we'll take a look at that Moose Point standings now after 9 rounds. Bill Ballard stretching his points lead out over Chris Borich. Yoakley closing the gap after today's little mishap by Chris Borich. And of course, that battle for second is going to be really tight when we head back to the racing action after the summer break. Adam McGill moves up to 6th place in the points, and that's our Moose Point standings after 9 rounds of racing. And a good look at the Deep Creek Lake here in McHenry, Maryland. The Suzuki Grand National Cross Country Championship Series is produced by Gear Media and Marketing for Racer Productions. On behalf of the entire staff and crew, for Jason Wygant, I'm Rodney Tomlin. Have a great day. The Grand National Cross Country Championship is sanctioned by the American Motorcyclist Association. Rights, Riding, Racing. AMA. Join now. Call 1.